Hello, and thank you for joining Urban Disrupt, your address for social innovation. Today, we are happy to have Ellie Beer with us, founder of United Rescue. Hi, Ellie, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Ellie, tell me briefly about United Rescue today and its inception from the earlier stage.
So United Rescue is a volunteer organization based on paramedics, EMTs, doctors, nurses, anyone that knows how to save a life but doesn't work in it on a day-to-day basis. That means people who are working in different types of jobs, and they all connected by an app, by a GPS app, who knows how to calculate who is the closest to every emergency. And these volunteers are ready to go any time of the day or night to respond to emergencies where people are literally seconds before death.
Since you mentioned volunteers, it's all based on volunteers. You have over 3,000 volunteers today in your organization, which is amazing. And you were also mentioning community. So how do you think that's involved with developing communities within your area?
Well, I went out to so many emergencies in my life, and I saw so many people in different situations that were seconds before dying. Younger people, older people, babies, women delivering babies. And I saw that everyone, one thing is in common. Everyone that I treated, doesn't matter who they are, they could be the most religious Jew, the most secular Jew, and a Muslim, or a Druze, or a Christian, or any religion. Under our skin, we have the same color. I realized that my goal will be 90 seconds. Why? Because within the first 2 minutes, if you treat someone, you actually could save his life. So I said, in order to do this, I need to take every person in Israel who wants to volunteer, who has the love, a desire to save lives the same way I have. And it doesn't matter what kind of family he comes from, what kind of religion he comes from, and what kind of a job he has. Some people could be bankers with a lot of money. Some people could just be simple people working in the market. So I realized if I take all these people from all around the country and I train them in the way I want people to be trained, meaning they know how to do everything until the ambulance arrives. They could be EMTs or even higher, paramedics, and some are even trained to be doctors. And they want to be on call 24/7, they could be part of this organization. As long as they have a good heart, as long as they're good people. And we created this amazing organization. We call it, instead of only rescue, only Hatzalah, we call it United Hatzalah, which we unite so many people together in one organization.
What were some of your challenges while launching this initiative, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, the biggest challenge I ever had was dealing with the big organizations that felt like it's their job to do it, and who am I to interfere? So we went over to the ambulance organization where I used to volunteer in, and I came up with this brilliant idea. I thought, I'm 16 and a half years old, I'm a genius. I'm starting a new organization in Israel of volunteers responding to emergencies and within the community. And I come to the ambulance and they said, we don't want to hear about this idea. We're doing perfectly okay. Get the heck out of here. We don't want to see you. And if you want to volunteer in the ambulance, that's fine, but don't come up with these crazy ideas. So I was very upset because I knew this thing could help. And I knew that what I came up with is a simple idea, which everyone should do this. And the ambulance don't want to share the calls with us because they thought they're doing a good job. And I knew they're not doing a good job because I used to volunteer there. They can't do a good job if they get there 10 minutes after or 21 minutes after. They need to get there within the first 2 minutes. When someone is actually having a cardiac arrest, within the first 2 minutes, you have a 90% chance of saving him. After the 2 minutes, 1 minute after is 7 to 10% less. An ambulance arrives between 8 to 12 minutes. So I decided that if they don't want to share the calls with me, I will actually get the calls without their help. And I decided to buy these walkie-talkie scanners. And we equipped the volunteers with these scanners, tapping into their calls. like Spider-Man. He used to listening to the police. In the first week, I was listening into their calls with the scanner. I actually saved a life. I saved the life of a 70-year-old man who was crossing the street. In my neighborhood, I was listening into the calls. They dispatched an ambulance to this emergency call with a car accident. I heard where it was, the address. It was about a minute away from where I was, my father's office. I just ran out of there. I went with no medical equipment. I had no bandages or no nothing on me, but I got to this person who was on the floor. He was 70 years old, and he was bleeding terribly from his neck. He had a gushing out of his neck because he was hurt by the mirror of the car. And when I got there, I had nothing to treat him with, but I knew what to do. And I knew that if I don't stop his bleeding within the first 2 or 3 minutes, he would be dead. So I took my kippah off my head, my yarmulke, and I folded it to two, and like this, actually more like this, and I just pushed it into the artery, just stopping the bleeding with all the pressure I could. About 20 minutes later, the ambulance shows up. This person was still breathing on his own. He was unconscious, but he was still breathing, and I was just pushing it in like this. And they took him to the hospital. I didn't know if he's going to live or die. And 2 days later, I get a phone call. This is my father you treated, and he woke up this morning in the hospital. And we told him the story about you getting there, and you were a hero. We would like you to come visit him. He wants to thank you personally. And I went to the hospital, and I got to meet him face to face, the first person I actually saved after 1.5 years volunteering in an ambulance. The first person I actually saved was a person. I got to him and I did a simple thing, stopping his bleeding. And he gave me a hug. That hug changed my life. It was a very, very weak, he was very weak, but that hug was so strong. And I realized he had a number here, that he was a Holocaust survivor. And the fact that I am a 16.5 years old, and a lot of my family were murdered in the Holocaust, and I actually saved a Holocaust survivor by a simple act. I decided this is what I want to do.
Amazing. And who are your typical volunteers? Are we talking mainly about women, men, teenagers?
Right now we have 3,000 volunteers, and we have over 1,500 people who want to volunteer by us. We're very particular who do we want to take. So we want to take people who have already, because we have a lot of training, we have about 8 months of training to get someone to volunteer. So we want either men or women who are already established, who are stabilized. They're not going to be changing positions or cities very fast or stop moving around. So our age limit is 21. We would like people who have jobs, who are, if you're married or have a partner or something, and you have a home or rented a home. It's something that we don't like people who are not sure where they're going to be in the next year. So because it's a lot of details here, we want to make these people into lifesavers forever. And in the last 25 years, when this organization is going in Israel, very few people left the organization.
And let me understand the whole process from the moment you receive a call to the moment you actually have someone get to the scene.
Let's say a woman is giving birth now. On the way to the hospital, she gets stuck in traffic.
What's happening?
What's happening? The baby's coming out, and she needs help immediately. The baby could be in danger. She could be in danger. Our volunteers are driving around the country. They're busy. Everyone has a job. Everyone's running somewhere. Everyone's on the way to pick up his kids from school. The other one is going to work. And this emergency technology that we have now for us could calculate and see who are the 5 most relevant volunteers who could get there the fastest and treat this woman and deliver the baby.
Amazing. Amazing. I have to ask you, I know that you receive a lot of attention around the world from different outlets. You're actually working on different expansions around the globe at the moment. Can you tell us about these expansions?
Yeah, so right now, as we're talking, we have a training course for 100 new volunteers in Jersey City, but we We have 400 people registered to be volunteers in Jersey City. We're doing the same in Panama, in Brazil, in other countries, in Argentina, in Lithuania. The people of Lithuania want the same thing, to protect themselves from dying, and also to have a volunteer culture. So people want to learn from us. So we are giving this gift to the world in terms of what we created in Israel, a volunteer corps who are 24/7 connected with an app, running to calls with their own private cars, with ambicycles that we provide them, these motorcycles that have all the equipment like an ambulance has. And we get there so quick because we have, this app, the technology, we have the good people behind this organization, and they want to have the same.
As an entrepreneur in a rough neighborhood, do you think that more initiatives like that can change areas of conflicts?
Definitely. Look, I live in Israel my whole life, more or less. I travel a lot, but I live in Israel. And Israel is really a rough neighborhood, like you'd call it. And we have conflicts between the Jews, conflict between Arabs and Jews, conflict between other religions. It's not Switzerland here. I think United Hatzalah, we created something very unique. We have Arabs and settlers, religious Jews, secular Jews, ultra-Orthodox Jews, and Reform, conservative, Christians, everyone volunteering together, men and women, because we know that life is more important than anything else. So all these people believe what I believe in, that under the skin, we're all the same color. If, God forbid, a huge fire comes, like we just had in China, this huge fire, everyone wants to protect their family. So no one cares if an Arab comes to protect you or Jew comes to protect you. We want to be protected. So we united people together. If we know that we could save each other, help each other in case of emergency, it would give a lot more respect between each other.
Thank you, Eli. That has been wonderful. And thank you for joining on Urban Disrupt, your address for social innovation. See you next time.